the second part. And I'm really happy to be here to can talk about one of my favorite topics, the systemic attitude, the systemic coaching. And today in the main focus with systemic conversation. So I hope everyone is well. And I would like to start with a short introduction of myself so that you get to know me a little bit better if you haven't got attended any live sessions here on this platform. And we do this on a regular basis to different kind of topics. And the systemic conversation management will be such an important topic to nowadays challenges because we often have to deal with a digital conversation, and we often are not aware and how it could affect us, how it could affect the team settings, and therefore I think this is a necessary approach which and what everyone could consider. So today it's not only about systemic approach, it's not only about the conversation management, it's all about the whole environment with systemic and with the conversation. And I really like to encourage you that you get in touch with me in the chat, for example. You also could, I think, speak here also with a microphone, but the chat is also okay, as Johnny Mareike does. So this is live now. Yes, this is live. This is not on recording, but it will be recorded. And therefore also hello to all of them who watch this recording later on. You're also invited to ask me questions on the platform. There is an online discussion forum. You can ask also questions in the on the course page itself. And I will try to answer every question which regards here these topics. Yes, we already had a lot of other live sessions. So take a closer look to the other courses as well, like systemic coaching, systemic human resource management, human resource development. We have a separate and second course made especially on focusing on human resource management. It's like a big picture. So maybe you would like to acquire here a few more insight points of this topic. And then we have workshops, how you could blend them in the systemic attitude, and also here conversation management. And this is also one of my newest courses because it gives you the value of the setting, what we have, of the setting of systemic coaching, human resource, because in each chapter we need these competences. Yeah, so this is live now, and of course you can ask me any questions. What is in concern to this topic? Very cool, right, Johnny? Yeah, I hope it's very cool because it's a daily life topic, I would say. So also when as in most countries, the pandemic, the COVID pandemic is now over, but the whole home office setting and the whole setting, what we have now with digital and also with remote workers, it's absolutely mandatory. So I hope the audio quality is is good enough, and also the webcam works good. So if there is any lags or any technical troubles, just let me know. Yeah, this was the first introduction, and I would like now to go into this topic. And as I told you before, you could really get in touch with me. It is a little bit more interactive. There are no wrong answers and questions. There's just asking me everything what is on your mind. So it's a little bit more interactive, bidirectional, and it's also better for you to understand and comprehend the whole stuff here. Because when you just listen, it's okay, but it's in this digital barrier, it's really difficult to follow me along just on the audio, and therefore I would like to go here in a direct conversation with you. Do you have a management background? Yes, I come to it just in the next slide. and then we can go through all of my um, background as well. So let me see what we have here. Okay, just checking the settings. Then the goal of this course is, as far as I would say here, oh, I skipped here. I have no mic, so I just write. Is it okay? It's okay, absolutely, Johnny. And sorry for spelling errors. I'm on a tablet. Doesn't matter. Here we are not really concerned about any spelling or grammar topics. Just type in. The autocorrection is always like reforming your sentences. I know it, and so don't be too shy in this matter. Just type it in. The goal of this course, of course, it's the competence to acquire here a new level of competence when it comes to digital assets. And it might seem to you a little bit obviously that you say, of course, we all know the web apps like Zoom, WebEx, these online settings like WebEx, Zoom, Skype, Blueprint, or like this setting what we have here now. I think this is really a good software because you could have here a lot of interactive tools, and it's very convenient for me as a presenter, this big blue button thing. And maybe you already dealt with it. It's you can raise your hand on the left side. It's very convenient when you have to deal with a lot of people in a chat room. Practice is more like simulation orientated, that you think of through such scenarios which I will give you, and this is what I mean with practice. And then every time when you hear something new, you have to implement it in your own life, because when you don't implement it, it's the knowledge will gone away. And this is not only for this course, this is in a general matter. It's very, very necessary that we implementing our knowledge as fast as possible in our world, so that it could be really in the next step comprehensible. Openness, it's always when you're listening to something new, it's difficult because it's something new, maybe something just it's something new, and you don't really know if this is going to happen, or that's what your coworkers say if you trying something new out. Therefore, openness is really a key feature when it comes to something new, like a systemic approach. And also reflect yourself, how you go through the daily life, and what do you think about how I got recognized. Is my conversation style this what I really like to be recognized? Because often it's a very stressful day. You're typing in an email, and maybe it comes a little bit too rude because you're in stress, but you won't be recognized in this way. And therefore, reflection should be an ongoing process where you always invent yourself new. And therefore, it's also necessary when we go through some new things that you listen to your inner voice. And when it comes to some new points, you ask yourself, is this really something I would like to implement in my life, implementing in my working area? And does it feel it really more natural or more artificial? And when it's too artificial, also your coworkers and your team will recognize this, and this is not what it should be. When it feels it a little bit more natural, then you could implement it also because you are more self-confident that this will work. And of course, read a lot about certain topics. Often, and this is my impression, when it comes to digital conversation and also to workshop and coaching, etc., often people think this is so obviously I don't have to train it, because I can switch on a microphone and a webcam and then we are ready to go. But is it really always so easy to implement? I don't know. And I experienced it in different ways. often people takes it a little bit too lax, a little bit too nonchalant, and then the meetings are not very structured. People are the teams have different standards. One has a webcam on, the other has no webcam, and this is really difficult when you're in a leadership position, because then it's hard for you to get all of the group dynamics. And therefore, it's necessary that you have to define your certain standards. And reading a lot, reflecting yourself, these are some mandatory points which is really necessary. So then I liked Zoom and Co. Johnny wrote. Yes, of course. And this is one of my next slide, beyond tools and techniques. Zoom is a very good tool. And Zoom helps you to get very fast things done, because you only need a meeting ID, for example, and then ready to go. What I like a little bit more is the software which we are seeing here. It's a browser-based thing, and I have also an IT background. So just let me see if I'm here. No. So before I start, just a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor and master's in business informatics, and I have a second master in the systemic coaching and human resource development area. And I also have a trained a trainer. This is like a certificate that we can here in Austria be allowed to take courses. And I'm based here in Austria, and these are my main things. I really like to code and develop certain things on microcontrollers. I'm also in the executive coaching. So these are my two hearts. This is the coaching and the coding, the IT world. And therefore, I have a strongly related topic here, which connects the IT and also the coaching, the systemic coaching, human resource topic. And therefore, I always try to merge these two topics, but here in the focus of the online environment. And like you see here, beyond tools and techniques, like I said before, this is a perfect tool here. It's a browser tool. Everyone can adapt it. You don't have to download here anything. Just click on the button that you would like to join, and that's it. Nevertheless, if you have a Mac and Linux and Windows system, tablet, iPhone, it works on each system. With Zoom, WebEx, Skype, etc., of course, a few of them have online tools or like web-based, but often it's not browser-based, it's based on an application. And this is, I see, not often very usable. So, but never use all of the function. From Zoom, for example, Johnny, yes, it's difficult to get the real life scenarios, because here on this platform, I have, for example, a test room where I can test here certain things. For example, all of the features on the right side, where I could, for example, made here some drawings, or you can see here my pointer, or I think I can draw here as well. And I could also activate here an multiple user mode, where you also can here focus and do some things. It's really cool. And beyond tools and techniques means that each of us here in the chat are individuals. So for example, Koldobika, Johnny, Cecine, and I here, different individuals. All of us have some different kind of experience which we bring along in this chat. It's different kind of communication styles. It's a different environment. We have different time zones. I'm here in Austria. Maybe you are in Turkey. In where are you from? Maybe some other Asian region, Europe regions, maybe from America. And so we have different time settings. And this is also what affects a course, because when it goes over the lunchtime, for example, maybe here it's 10 a.m. and in your time zone it's 12 a.m. And this is difficult, because then you want to go to lunch, or it's in the midnight and you want to sleep. You have a full working day behind you, and this is that your concentration is not on point. You see, the environment is really also affecting the whole communication. And just a short anecdote, I had a communication seminar, an online seminar, with people from a call agency in Austria, and it was necessary because they wanted to acquire some competences in the systemic conversation, because often they were dealt with some very angry persons, and therefore they tried a new approach with the systemic attitude. And the challenge here was not the topic. The challenge was that they are in a call agency, in a call center. That means they all have here just a narrow office spot, and in the next 2 meters, the next call agency were sitting. And there was so much noise and background noise. This affected the whole course, because normally we train a lot on these scenarios, and you could add here your microphone, and then we could simulating here different kind of things. And with this background noise, it was really not possible to do it. And therefore, we have to adapt it and had made it more in the written form. And this is something which you can't really prepare. You have to be here really flexible. And this is what the setting means. The setting means you could plan something like I did here with all of the slides and with all of my preparation to this topic. But maybe my internet will lag, or I have for I think the last before live session here on this platform, I had problems with my microphone, and I have done live sessions here on this platform as the exact same system. I think 12 or 13 different kind of live sessions, and never my microphone has made some problems. And then suddenly on this day, also with a restart, I was not able to manage to get this microphone to work. Therefore, I have to adapt with my Bluetooth headphones. These have also a microphone in it. It's not the best quality, but it was here the way that I could adapt here, very flexible. And with I think a delay from 10 minutes, we had started then the live session. And that's something what you should prepare. And also to have here and smartphone with an hotspot, for example. These are all things which we're discussing here on this point, because when it comes to online conversations, there are a lot of pitfalls and obstacles which could, could come along. And often we only want to focus on the topic and not on the surrounding. But when we are not used to all of these scenarios, we are not good in it. And therefore, practice is one of the key features. And this is what I mean with beyond tools and techniques. Get the maximum out of it in the way that you be the master of the system. And this could be done with some team scenarios. Nevertheless, if all of you are in the same room, you have a headset on, all mics are muted, and then you made the team meeting online in the room. And this is a first scenario where you can train the system, and it's not really a problem when something is not working, because some of your team colleagues could adapt here to the situation and can help you. And getting to know the system is one of the key features. And beyond tools and techniques means, and I would really stress this out, that we should focus here on the people and not on the technique. If we struggle with the techniques here, with all of the technical aspects, it will be really hard that the people will follow you along. And as we see later on this course, we will have some technical issues sooner or later, because there are certain things which we can't control, and therefore we have to be prepared. And now, today we have to the main focusing on different kind of techniques, what you should consider, not especially like in software. It's more like what we could prepare. And tomorrow we are focusing a little bit more on the systemic techniques, what we can use, like systemic question techniques, so that we can be the best out of our version. So then let me see. The slide number 4 is for all of you who asking yourself, for whom is this course? And of course, for executives, it's for educators, for consultants, for coaches, and anyone with responsibility. And to be clear, nowadays we surely have responsibility. So I think for everyone, this course is very well suited, because it gives you an and competence what you can implement as fast as possible. And therefore, these are my main, I would say, audience, which I will focus here. So systems theory and the constructivism and background and definition. So let's start with these slides. How does the systemic approach fit into the conversation management? And it's of course every day. Mistrust is not pathological per se, but in some cases quite realistic and justified. Crisis, like the COVID-19 crisis, geopolitical measures, corporate politicals, and organization, reconciliation, management, restructuring, and savings, and with some conflicts in team with other departments, with managers. And Johnny writes, oh yeah, now we are all went through some crisis since COVID. Absolutely. And when it comes to a crisis like COVID, we were all for a situation which we don't know really the outcome. We are not could take something for granted, and we couldn't be very self-confident about what brings the future. And therefore, it's absolutely critical how we communicate to our staff, to our team, to our organization, what comes next. And when it comes to a geopolitical decision, for example, we have here some regulations that we couldn't import products from China, from US, from the European regions, for example, or there will be taxed for 25% for each product. And this will be affect, of course, all of the company, because all teammates, staff, employees are affected when the company not really making any profit anymore, or the profit will shrink down to 30%. And then the communication starts. Where is the cost reduction? What restructuring do we take? So a crisis often affects the everyday, the organization, and the conflicts. Because when it comes to cost reductions and restructuring measurements, this will affect everyday work and also take some conflicts. Because then some manager says, why should we shrink down our overheads? We are the producers. So for example, the manufacturer, we are one of the main departments of the company. We are not reducing here any money, because when we have to reduce it, then the margin will shrink down to, for example, 50%. But when we shrink down the IT or the financial department, it's not really affecting the output. And this is often the argument when it comes to organization department thinking. But when you see the big picture, of course you need the department for IT and the financial. These are short effects when you just reduce here the IT and the IT department, for example. But what does it mean in the long run? In 1 year, 2 years, when the IT system just got hot fixes and patches and just the rudimentary updates, but not really the updates what it meant to have, and also the support, the first level support, the second level support. So as you see, you have to have here a long time view that not only the short term will be yeah, to take into consideration. And of course, often you have to make short-term results that the company can survive, but always think what comes next. And this should be transparent in the conversation. Because what I experienced when I come to different companies and see the insights, management always knows what is going on. Of course, they have to. But they are not really transparent because they think when they be very transparent, for example, if we have a restructuring in our plan, we don't say it in the first place. We just making something and then we present the restructuring because the manager thinks when they be very transparent, the employees will flee and go to another company, or they think that's not what they want to do, and they will give you a lot of resistance. And when they overwhelmed um, with this new plan, then they have not really the time and the energy to take here into the go into the resistance. And this is in my case in the systemic environment, and we come to it later on, the completely false way. We have to be more transparent and also participate such tremendous and important adaptation of the organization. When it comes to restructuring, of course, all of the employees have other goals than the CEO. But it doesn't mean that it always from bottom to top, or from top to bottom. And it doesn't mean that you also have to listen from bottom to top, that the employees have to decide everything. But participation means that you have something in mind, like we have to restructure something because of a cost reduction measurement. And how this restructuring is implemented, it doesn't be the job of the CEO. It's just giving the guidelines. For example, we have to reduce the annual costs by 30%, and therefore we have to make some restructuring. And please present me here possible restructuring by the end of the first month, January, and then we will decide what's the best of it. And then the managers go out to the teams, and not the managers decide. Maybe they're getting some influence from the employees. So by asking the question, what should we do and what shouldn't we do? So when we ask the question, what must not happen under any circumstances, then the people will tell you. And these are the very important point when it comes to anxiety and anxiety, to problem thinking. And this is what communication is all about. And there is no such things like over communicating. Over communicating is one thing I often tell you when it comes to changes. Focus on the points what you would like to change, and then communicate, and take feedbacks, and also reflecting time. So, so far, so good for what the systemic conversation management will affect in our daily life. Then we come to the next slide. We talked about the system theory a little bit, but I haven't explained it in this chapter. And when you already watched some of my previous live sessions, then of course you were introduced to the systems theory. And I take it here a little bit quicker, because it just should give you an overview and big picture of what the system theory is. And later on, we're going a little bit more into detail. But if you are interested more in the system theory, just take the course here on this platform about the systemic coaching and systemic human resource development courses, where I explain the systemic theory and attitude in more detail. This is around about 5 hours to 6 hours each course and gives you all of my knowledge out of this. And this is one of my best sellers. I sold the systemic coaching really over 500 times in the last year and have a rating above 4.5 stars from 5 stars. And therefore, I really can recommend the systemic coaching course to you. So, but now, what does it mean, the system theory? As you can see here, we have different kind of gears, I would say. And all of these gears are connected to each others. But if we are pushing one gear in one direction, all of the other gears will be affected. And this is what I mean with system. In all network systems, limited interventions have unlimited effects. Every intervention has an impact on the individual and the system. And when you think about yourself, if you have a private issue, and it doesn't matter what it is, it will affect also your business life. And of course, you will try to diminish here your private life and this problem. But you always during the day, you will think about it and then think, it's this problem again, and it's an hustle, it's money problems, it's relationship problems, it's something in your hobby, in your leisure time, and some health issues. And all of these problems will affect it. And also your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner, your wife, your spouse, it will affect it, all of them. Also your friends, etc. Your co-workers. And this is what I mean with system theory. And when I'm now here as an digital conversation management course, and in the next team meeting, you will implementing here some things. And for example, you're changing the routines. This will affect all co-workers, but maybe also the private life, because they are more open, they are more energized, because when there is something which people upsets them, then they are not complaining in the coffee talk, they are also complaining outside of the company. And just to be here really clear, the best company has also some co-workers which are complaining about the company. This is some effects which has the best companies. But when it takes too much energy about the complaining about the company, the supervisors, and all of the others, then it's difficult. And then there should maybe something different. And Kulodobika says, okay, so you agree to the system theory, I think. Thank you for the feedback, if you understand you right. And the systems theory should give you an understanding that everything what you will do will affect your surrounding. And not your only surrounding, it also affects yourself, because you're reflecting yourself and then you're asking yourself what is going on and so on. So then, every intervention has an impact on the individual and the system. And this is what I meant before. Always think about the big picture. So then, let me see, what do we have as a next? Do you coach as well? Asked Johnny. Johnny, yes, I work as a systemic coach for some career planning for people in executive coaching, in human resources, like workshop planning, team coachings, team events, and also for restructuring processes like organizational behavior when it comes to changing executives, supervisors, managers. Then there we have to set up some workshops. We have to also make some follow-ups. We have to make some, yeah, when it comes to human resources, a lot of restructuring and change processes need some external coaches, and therefore I often be work as a consultant and also as a coach. And in a one-to-one setting, I also enjoy the systemic coaching approach because here we can do a lot of different creative techniques. You see the outcome very, very fast. When it comes to organizational development, the changes will take very long time. And not only take a very long time, you see the results also um, not really in the first place. You see it in the long term when it comes to restructuring process, to reducing costs, for example, implementing here a talent management system. This will take effect in years, for example, but it's also a rewarding job because you help here not only one person, you're helping here whole organizations with different kind of persons, scenarios, and hierarchies. So then, yeah, is there any more questions? Johnny asked, I mean, do you practice systemic coaching? Yes, yes. Not only, what do you mean by practice? If I'm using it, yes, I'm using it as a made the example before. And practice, I read a lot and I also keep up to date with this whole systemic view, and also try to, yeah, I would say, reflect myself, giving and getting feedback in each session, and also getting some feedback afterwards when I'm really in a conversation, in a coaching. I'm getting a lot of feedback because it helps me to understand what was good and what could be replaced. And when something should comes to me, I have to replace it more often. Then I ask myself if I really should change something. So then I would like to go further on in the eighth slide, and therefore um, I would like to talk about trust. Communication has always to do with trust. And as I mentioned it before with this example, which I really often saw when it comes to changing process. And this is my invisible flip chart, for example. And when it comes here to some points, and often the managers skipping here some points because they think it's not suitable for the broad audience that they just getting to know on this day. This news, this should just be known by the higher management. And of course, there are some things you shouldn't give all of the information out. For example, when there come some changes, and this leads directly to cost reduction or to some changes in the profit margin. When you tell the staff directly, this will lead to panic and this will lead to chaos, and this is not what you want. But you should be more in the way that you say, for example, you got some update of new regulations. This will maybe also affect our profit margin, and therefore we have to adapt it. Please give us 1 week time to evaluate the situation, and then we could give you here a really sustainable answer, what we have to adapt and what we should do differently in the next months. When you listen and read something like that, of course you get upset to the situation, but then you see, and this is what I mean with transparent, you see, aha, okay, there is something going on, and they know it, and they let us know. And when you're not updating the situation, then the staff also getting the the image of, aha, there is something ongoing. They are not capable because otherwise they would tell us. And therefore, Always be transparent in the way how you're communicating. And this will lead to trust. Trust means that you really can, I would say, follow the managers and the supervisors, the CEO along, that you are try to understand what they are saying and that you believe them. And by believing, I mean when someone says to you, we are capable of achieving this crisis, then you believe them because they showed you once that you can trust them. So trust have to be gained, has to be earned, and therefore earn your trust of the staff by communicating a lot. Trust in a company or organization seems to be a good indicator of a team's performance. And this is so important. Just highlight, reduce complexity. And this is also a short anecdote. I often see when it comes to change processes, when it comes to change processes, managers, etc., I see so long emails where some quality assurance is inside, or when someone says we have to made here some changes. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, and don't forget 6, 7. It's too much information. It's in our daily hectic life too much. And therefore, we as a manager, when we are communicating in a digital environment, we have to reduce complexity. And complexity means there is a certain topic, and this topic needs to be shrink down to main areas. For example, cost reduction, geopolitical changes, new manager, talent management system, employer branding, employer survey, bam, 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 headline. And with this headline, 1 or 2 sentences, we are making an employer survey so that we're getting a feedback for the management. You can see the results in deadline. We are facing here a geopolitical issue because of this ongoing war, Ukraine and Russia. Therefore, our supply chain will be affected. We need to have adapt to the situation and find new suppliers. We keep you updated in the next week with some status quo, and so on and so on. This will lead to trust. And when you're not capable of holding the deadlines, then you have to communicate as well. This is what leadership does. Leader management and leadership means the core competence is communicating. And there is no such thing like over communicating. And you know it maybe from the advertisement. If you repeat yourself in a lot of ways, different kind of ways, it will be the truth. This is what politicians are doing on a regular basis. They're repeating themselves, and then after 7, 10, 20 times, the people start to believing that because you're repeating yourself again and again. And when a political and person of yeah, like managers and CEOs says something, maybe, or the people think maybe this have to be true because the CEO says so. And therefore, we have to reduce your complexity and to gain trust. And over communicating, be here transparent, my invisible flip chart, point 1, 2, 3, and keep the emails short. And also keep the meetings with 7+ people quick. What I mean with that, the perfect team size is around about 5 to 10 people. In my opinion, 7 is the maximum because in 7 you have specialists and you are able to see all of the group dynamic, what is needed from each individual. Afterwards, it will be really difficult. You need some team leads. And this is what I also experienced. It's too difficult for people to be in the operative business also as well when it comes to bigger size team sizes. So Of course, you can have bigger team sizes. For example, when you have more team leaders and you're a manager, and then you have team lead 1, 2, and 3. So in summary, you have 50 people, for example. Of course, could be possible because often when it comes to a call center in financial IT, you can have bigger team sizes as well because you these are some works which I would say it's in the maturity level of the persons doing tasks, not really high. If you have someone who has a higher degree of maturity level, then, for example, is in the sales, etc., then you have to adapt here to the situation. But otherwise, yeah, this is what I meant before. Okay, we are on slide 8. Is there anything